And blessed to be a part of your day. I hope you had a great holiday. And hopefully you didn't live it like a lot of us. It just seemed that work continued to consume everything. There is no time off when we have social media, when we have, these breaking news stories that go on and on and on. And I don't know about you, but it's just, men behaving badly. You've got John Conyers now. You've got Al Franken. And, it goes back to Harvey Weinstein and others. And you just think, is this how the hoity-toity, the hooba-baloo, whatever you want to call them, live their lives? It's just fascinating to me how this all breaks down. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And, why don't we just start off with a hardball here? And it comes down to this, the issue involving where this all began. And some people say it's Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill and good old Chuck Todd of Meet the Press. And God bless you because you have a life. I regretfully don't. I'm sitting there with my Australian Shepherd, my two dachshunds, Buster and Carolina, along with Bama, hurting over our beloved Crimson Tide losing last Saturday night, and the Broncos as well. And I'm sitting there going over everything, and I'm watching Meet the Press, and guess who Chuck Todd brings out of retirement is Anita Hill. And talking about men behaving badly and how this all started with Clarence Thomas. Well, there were a lot of allegations against Clarence Thomas that were never proven. It was a he said, she said. And then as I'm watching Fox News Sunday, which you can catch right here at KIDO Talk Radio. And, they have this panel on, and they're going back and forth, and they're talking about the presumption of innocence. And we go to another major case, the Duke Lacrosse case, where you had a female black stripper, exotic dancer, Crystal Mangum, accuse Reed Seligman, Colin Finney, and David Evans of rape. I broke that story nationally. I was there. We all wanted to believe that these kids were guilty. White privilege turned out to be false. It ruined the Duke Lacrosse team. It ruined those guys' lives. Now, you counter that with what happened in the 90s with Bill Clinton. And every Democrat, it's not a partisan issue, it's fact. Every Democrat that backed Bill Clinton, and even now, that is your party's claim to fame, is that you backed Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton did what he did. It was a proven fact, and it was funny because it was like an ode to the 80s because there you had Nancy Pelosi and you had Chuck Todd going back to a previous interview that she had with Tim Russert where she said, what somebody does in their personal life shouldn't impact what they do publicly. Boy, do those sound bites and arguments ring hollow today. And I say to you, especially people with young women and others, older women, maybe you've faced this in the workplace, I don't know. If people would have done the right thing against Clinton back in the day, then maybe Harvey Weinstein, Al Franken, and others would not be such of a big threat today, or John Conyers for that matter. Now, Conyers says he didn't do it. Do we owe them the presumption of innocence? I would say yes. Franken's going back to work. And this is a major problem. You don't hear this coming out of the Republican camp now, do you? You hear it out of the Democratic camp, and we'll have some reaction for you. But, again, it's tough to get back into the field of things at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. When you think of this issue, and when you think of, all the brouhaha over Roy Moore, well, where is it with Al Franken? Where is it with everyone else? And I go back to the presumption of innocence where we just automatically assume people are guilty. And then I was watching, and again, I really don't have a life. Thankfully, Mrs. Miller was working the Floral Empire, so she didn't have to put up with the endless Sunday shows I was watching. And I'm sitting there watching another show where you had a panel of women led by Martha Raddatz of This Week. And you're going, gosh, do people really watch these dumb shows? Yes, they do. And they get this overwhelmingly sense of self-importance when they're on these shows. So you had one woman who said, well, some people are to blame for how they dress. When you dress provocatively, women, according to this woman, have to take responsibility for the reactions that they get. And it really all comes down to something that I'm a big fan of. And I've only watched a few episodes of this show, and I think I've told you about this before. And from the Boise Rescue Mission, I was telling this to John McGee. And there's a thing called relationships. And there's a thing called formal relationships and informal relationships. And in this scene, the young pope, played by Jude Law, is describing how he's a fan of formal relationships because then there's never a question. There are rules, there are guidelines. And in the workplace, there are rules and there are guidelines. The idea of friends in the workplace. You have coworkers, and maybe you get lifelong friends. But what happens when someone leaves to go to another job? What happens when we part ways? What happens when we get the old, we're going in a different direction? Oh, I can't wait. No, we're going in a different direction. You're not. And, we have this, idea that we can mix and mingle and have drinks and everything else. It gets crazy. And when you mix in alcohol, long hours, these things happen, unfortunately. Now, the idea that there is a moral code, I have championed that for years. The idea that when you stick to something, you make a vow, you stick to it, and if you can't, then you move on. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDU, I think this goes back to Bill Clinton. And, if the Democrats had done the right thing, because when you take a look at Harvey Weinstein, when you take a look at Al Franken, when you take a look at John Conyers, when you take a look at everything else, can't they just use the Bill Clinton defense? Harvey Weinstein, a famous producer, right? Harvey Weinstein, always returned money to the shareholders, right? Okay. Number one. Number two, he didn't let his personal life interfere with his job, just like Bill Clinton. And now you've got this Michigan congressman, the longest-serving congressman currently right now, John Conyers, had to step down from his leadership position amid accusations he sexually harassed female staffers, and then apparently, allegedly, used money from his own stash, his own government surplus, if you will, to all of a sudden do what? To pay off someone, allegedly. So when you take a look at this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is it time to get rid of all of them? Or do you take a look back and say, well, where's the presumption of innocence? I go back to the Clinton thing. And by the way, if these didn't do it, they wouldn't be backpedaling right now. This broke late, I think, Wednesday, so let's take a listen here at KIDO Talk Radio.
We don't know exactly what she said to Conyers privately, but she said publicly today that Congressman Conyers is a, quote, icon who has, quote, done a great deal to protect women. But then she went on to say that she thought he would, quote, do the right thing. A few hours after she said that, Conyers announced he was stepping.
Well, apparently that sound clip was cut off. He'll do the right thing. And that was stepping down. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when you hear these comments, when you hear about John Conyers, when you hear about everything else, what goes on in your mind? To me, that it's time for the Democratic Party, and I suppose you could say the Republican Party as well, to take a look inside and whether
down as the top Democrat.
See, there you go. Wonder whether it's Monday. Wonder whether or not you want these characters in your political party. And at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, does it matter if you're a rogue or a whatever if you do your job? There's a big controversy going on in the world of college athletics. Okay, this is not a sports show. We have 27,000 sports shows in the Treasure Valley. We're really not a sports town. Sometimes we're a college football town, in my opinion. Maybe you disagree. But there's a guy who's going to be hired by the University of Tennessee, Greg Schiano. And you remember the Jerry Sandusky cases, right? The coach who was convicted after years of cover-up of molesting children, and Penn State knew about it. Now, they denied it. Joe Paterno denied it, but Joe Paterno lost his job because of it. Okay? So you had the whistleblower, Mike McCreary, an assistant coach at the time he went to another assistant coach, Tom Bradley, and said, hey, Sandusky's doing things that aren't right to children in the locker room, in the showers. And all of a sudden, Tom Bradley, according to McCreary, said, yeah, another assistant coach said that about him years ago, that being Greg Schiano. Based on that one allegation, and perhaps Schiano isn't the best coach, isn't the hottest ticket, people have ripped him, and they don't want anything to do with these folks. But Greg Schiano's a great football coach, and these are all allegations. You know, we talk about the social media justice warriors today going crazy. If we live by that model, Clinton would have been run out of office. And it's funny, Nancy Pelosi, well, he wouldn't have been impeached. He should have resigned. Do you think Bill Clinton or the Clintons would ever give up power? But doesn't this all go back to Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick? And these people ripped. And I don't know about you, and I'm not the brightest bulb in the shed. There are people that are brilliant. Ronan Farrow, I never thought I would praise that guy. A brilliant piece on CBS Sunday Morning. All I did was watch TV, and I call that work. Oh, my mom's laughing about that one. However, Ronan Farrow, who's a Rhodes Scholar, a lawyer, son of Mia Farrow and Woody Allen or Frank Sinatra, take your pick, allegedly. They did a profile on him on how he was bullied by Harvey Weinstein. They hired Mossad agents, private detectives. They tried to destroy him, and the guy was so intelligent about being a voice for victims. I don't believe that we've come a long way in 20 years. I simply don't believe it. And I think a lot of people that sat on the Weinstein story and others, they should be ashamed of themselves. It goes back to what you're taught in school. It's what you're taught in home. How do you treat people? The golden rule, and especially here in the Treasure Valley. And I know there are a lot of people, particularly in the state of North Carolina, that have been recently monitoring this program, and people in Virginia and Georgia, and we could go all into the backstory about why this program is one of the hottest shows in the country right now. And we're not marketing ourselves to anybody but here. And this is what makes Idaho unique. And you can call it the religious bent, the cultural bent, but people really obey the golden rule. And when people come to Idaho, you can tell when they haven't been here a while because they cut you off in the supermarket. And sooner or later, the goodness of the state seeps through, ebbs through. People give you the right of way. People let you in line when you're in your car. It's amazing. That's really what it comes down to. And sometimes it's a lesson that we all have to learn. How would I like to be treated? How would I like my kid or grandkid or great-grandkid to be treated? And that's how you treat people. Not like the Weinsteins and the Frankens and the Conyers, right? Or the Clintons. That's really the solution to everything. You don't say anything that you wouldn't say in front of your mom or your dad. And again, I don't mean to give you the life's lessons here, but come on. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we're supposed to be looking up to these people, number one. And number two, if you're Franken or Conyers, what's the big deal? They're still doing their job. Let's start off with Eric in Cuna with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, morning, Kevin. Hey, that was what you just said. I mean, that was really amazing. I mean, that was the Holy Spirit taking through you, buddy. But, these people, it's amazing, though. I mean, what is hidden is becoming known. And these people are animals. I mean, they treat women like sex objects. That's what all these people that make Hollywood, the politicians, you name it. These people are animals, and they treat women like sex objects. And if you think about it, it's really probably hard for a woman to come forward and say, yeah, I was fondled by Bill Clinton or whoever. And people don't really realize it takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward and admit such a thing. And I would say probably 95 to 99% of these women that come forward, besides the ones that get paid to do it, politically, like during the campaign. I'm talking about real women that come forward. I would say 95 to 99% of them are telling the honest to God truth, And these people These people deserve to be publicly shamed. I mean, Charlie Rose, I used to like to listen to some of his interviews, watch some of his interviews, several years ago. He's a pretty interesting interviewer. But now it's kind of like, wow, but at least we know. Think about our perspective on George W. Bush 10 years ago, 5 years ago. We would have never guessed him and his whole family was voting for Hillary. We would have everything that we know now. If you look at our perspective on just pretty much everything in the arena of our world, we know the truth on a lot of things as a collectively as a whole. And it's pretty amazing, And yes, Idaho, what you just said about the people that come here, you can spot them out. They're rude, they're all about self. And if you think about something, there's two kind of functions that everybody thinks that we're here for. One of them is a lie. There's self and service. Self is a lie. Self is a delusion. We're here to serve others, to serve in any way possible. And from that, from serving, we receive the higher understanding that it's given to our individual self. But serving self in any form is becoming out. It's becoming obsolete. And these animals, like all these people, all these people in power. It's amazing, Kevin. And I thank God that that the truth is coming out, no matter how hard it is for people to digest. And we know that a lot of people are still having trouble digesting the truth for what it really is. And it's about time that we put down our polarity of right and left, and let's just think of collectively as a country. We're Americans, and that's what we do. The golden rule, like you said, that's how we live. And if you read Matthew 5, 6, and 7, there's a lot of wisdom right there. Those the teachings of Christ is what America is. That is our value. No matter how many people try to refute it. When you look at a calendar, no matter where you are in the world, everybody acknowledges Jesus anyway. When they say 2017, whether they like it or not, you know what I mean? But anyway, thanks for letting me talk, Kevin. You're awesome. I thank God that you're in this valley, and a lot of people do. And I'm not surprised at all that this is one, but that shows that people are catching on, through the web radio and whatever. This doesn't surprise me. You should be nationally syndicated from right here in Boise. That would be awesome. That would be a gift to this country. But anyway, God bless, Kevin, and just keep on keeping on, buddy.
God bless, Eric. Take care, brother.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, our great friend Eric coming up, David in Nampa. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, shouldn't Al Franken and John Conyers keep their job based on the precedent set by President Clinton? Does private indiscretions matter to you? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, I do not remember these. Again, I take pictures with thousands of people. I would never intentionally do that. And so, but that does not negate my intention isn't what is important.
There we have it, Senator Al Franken talking about the sexual misconduct allegations against him. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Your calls are next. First, traffic and weather together. Let's get back to the phones. We go to David in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, David.
Yes, thank you. 2 points. One, Al Franken wants what writer James Lilacs calls a blue ribbon fact-finding committee that will find no facts and in 6 to 8 months will issue a report on whether they've chosen a cerulean blue or a more traditional royal blue for the ribbon. As for John Conyers and Nancy Pelosi, it's interesting. For a quarter of a century, we just had the anniversary. Republicans have had to denounce David Duke because running against his felonious, philandering opponent and giving his opponent money and their endorsement, that wasn't enough. And 2 years later, knowing William F. Buckley's survey that the turnover rate in the Senate is less than the turnover rate in the House of Lords? How many people can even be in the House of Lords? 3, 4, 5,000? But nevertheless, 2 seats in Congress in 2 years wasn't enough. You have to denounce him. You have to denounce him hard enough. For Charlottesville, Donald Trump didn't denounce the protesters hard enough. Nancy Pelosi says, well, he's a good guy and he needs his due process. He got his due process, Nancy. That secret slush fund paid out women who were victimized by him. He got his due process. And it's interesting. Neither one of these men, so is it justice or just us? You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you make of the Clinton comparison?
Clinton, I love Hillary Clinton. That was, that was all litigated. Really, Juanita Broderick was, who had 5 contemporaneous witnesses, including one who saw the swollen lip and the pantyhose. As for that wasn't litigated. How about Kathleen Willey, that identified the man who threatened her? Her car was vandalized, her cat was killed, her kids were threatened. Remember that?
Yep.
That turned out to be probably a man named Aladino who worked for the Clintons. Was that litigated? That wasn't litigated. So, what about it? I mean, that was litigated. Therefore what? Your husband isn't a sleaze and you're not worse because you cover him up? He wouldn't have been anywhere without her, ironically. He's just he's a hit it and quit it guy. She's the one who's, going after them. She's the one who's destroying the women. And the Bush family voted for her. I wish I could be done with that family, because when Mrs. Bush, the mother, said Clinton is her 4th son, I said, oh, I am so done with you. I wish I could be done with that family. Now I find out Bush 43 voted for Hillary Clinton. Good grief, the rhinos. God save us from them.
David, great call. Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:32. Good morning, Maggie.
I'm committed to working as hard as I can here in the Senate for the people of Minnesota. The Ethics Committee will be looking into all of this.
There we have it. Senator Al Franken in his NPR interview. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio.
She didn't have any ability to consent. She had every right to feel violated by that photo.
And there we have it. Franken trying to do damage control. Will it work? Let's get back to the phones and back to my comments concerning sexual assault, sexual harassment. The Democrats could have done the right thing and backed the removal of Bill Clinton. They didn't. Remember the old mantra. Remember when Clinton ran for office, that 60 Minutes interview. And if not, you can always YouTube it, where, they attacked the women right out of the Harvey Weinstein playbook, even before we knew about old Harvey. Pete in Mountain Home, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Yeah, Kevin, I am no longer, surprised, but still appalled at the flaming, incredible hypocrisy of the Democrat Party and the Democrat propaganda ministry, the mainstream media, who supported Bill Clinton, a known serial rapist, and supported him all the way through the presidency. And not only that, but they also they felt that a wonderful person who should also be nominated for the president, Hillary Clinton, who aided and abetted him throughout his career of rape. In some ways, that was worse. She was in charge of bimbo eruptions. She actually attacked and trashed the reputation of the women that Bill had raped. And they thought she'd be a great president. I mean, and they're screaming about Judge Moore and something that may or may not have happened 40 years ago. The hypocrisy level is amazing.
Well, and let's go to that little weasel Stephanopoulos and Carville. They made a movie out of them, The War Room, where they, gleefully stomped down these women who were, trying to get their story out.
Oh, yeah, and again, the Democrat nominee for president, Hillary Clinton, was right in there. I forget who said this, that what Roy Moore ought to do, he needs to hire a really, really strong woman lawyer to defend him, and the only problem is he probably couldn't afford Hillary Clinton. She's really good at it. She's got a lot of experience in that field.
She does.
It's just the level of hypocrisy is, and it doesn't seem to bother them a bit.
I would agree with you.
On the plus side, okay, a positive note. Earlier this year, after President Trump took office, the media was telling us that firearm sales in America would collapse because all that was all fear buying. Well, gosh, this Black Friday set another record for NICS background checks of firearms with the FBI, over 200,000. So maybe it isn't fear buying. Maybe people just like to buy guns.
Shocking, in America, the people would like to buy guns.
I know, and they actually like to go out and target shoot and stuff. It's amazing. Anyway, that's kind of a plus note,
We need him, Pete. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
All right, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio.
150,000 of those were bought by retailers that are going to push the price right back up after the holidays. Hey, what they need to, the educational system across the United States has to have a 1-hour senior class. We'll make it 2 hours, one with the men and women seniors in a room, and then 2 was separate, and talk about the future of job, employment, running your own business and such, and sexual harassment, and how it should be stopped immediately the first time it happens, not wait until the second time or the third time. A very good friend of mine, very intimate good friend of mine, 50-some years ago, put 2 CEOs at the very top, fired immediately. Went to HR, reported the incident on both cases, and within 48 hours, both were gone. It was amazing. I actually warned her what she was going to go up against.
So she got fired for turning them in?
No, she did not.
They did.
They both got boom, boom.
Let's get back to the topic at hand, though. It is, we should look at Bill Clinton. We should look at how the Democrats stood by their man. And really the argument used in the Clinton era was, hey, who cares what you do in your public or your private life? As long as you're good in your public job, we should keep you around.
Which is wrong on both sides.
Shouldn't the Democrats
want to keep
shouldn't
people
the
around?
Democrats be ashamed of themselves for empowering Harvey Weinstein, Al Franken, and John Conyers?
Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And it just shows you how creepy, insane, and weak these politicians are. I mean, they should all go. Moore should go. Franken should go. Bill Clinton, when people are still hiring him to give speeches for $500,000, $600,000. This is and corporations that do that should be ashamed of themselves. Banks that do that, stockbrokers and stuff that have those individuals speak should be totally ashamed of themselves. And Americans should put that out there that this has got to stop, and it's got to stop now. Doesn't matter if you're an independent, liberal, Democrat, Republican, communist. It doesn't happen in the political world or in the workplace or any place else. Period. Don't you agree? Both sides?
I agree, but I go back to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton empowered all these guys is where I'm at.
I believe so, too. I'm 100% on board with that. Even back when all that was taking place, I couldn't believe that he wasn't tarred and feathered and ran out of the White House. Seriously. And I voted for the guy.
He was your guy.
Well, he wasn't my guy after that. After a young woman in the Oval Office with him and everything, I I can put up with so much, but we really have to change. And but as long as we continue to put everything out there in the media, both in radio, like you say, the decadent FM, and I mean, look at the advertising on TV. Whenever the beer commercials, the Silver Bullet, and
well, hold on. Look at the Carl's Jr.'s ads.
Oh yeah.
What does that have to do with a cheeseburger?
Yeah, so sexually provocative and erotically biting.
I've never seen anybody like that. I've never seen anybody like that eat a cheeseburger.
No.
How about some truth in advertising?
Mine is gone before I open the bag. That's I eat it. But yes, we do, Kevin. On a serious note, we need to teach the seniors because they're leaving, going into college and going out into the world, and it has to sink in. So, and they'll remember that class when they're out there in the workforce. They're going to remember that instructor and what he or she had to say, and it will put a dent in it.
Oh,
It may be small, but it'll work.
Oh, Captain, my Captain, Liberal Steve, thank you for the call. Coming up next, Carly Fiorina weighs in on sexual harassment, but your thoughts as well at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Oh, yes, and we'll talk a little tax reform. Dave Petzel will join us. We'll get his thoughts on the bill that is percolating its way through Congress. Is nothing better than something. I'll explain next. Kevin Miller, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Franken has acknowledged them. Some of the others have denied them, including Judge Moore and Congressman Conyers. Do you think that should just be it? Their career should be over?
Well, I think in virtually all of these cases, there has been corroboration of the women's stories. In virtually every case, it's not one woman who comes forward. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think what we all need to think about, but frankly, particularly men need to think about, is in virtually all these cases, people knew. People knew this was going on. You can't tell me that no one knew what was going on with Roy Moore or John Conyers or Al Franken or Charlie Rose or Roger Ailes or Howard Weinstein. People knew. Men knew and women knew. And so while we all express outrage now and people say should they step down or should they not, I think the question going forward is, when are we going to stop tolerating this behavior and respecting the men who do it?
You know, that's another issue, and maybe somebody can help me out here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Is this just a men issue, or is it a women issue as well? And one of the most, and let me apologize in advance if this offends anybody, because we don't want, we want talk radio that's not offensive here, right? Especially in the morning. You have enough of that the rest of the day, but I never really understood the appeal of that show, Sex and the City. Okay, it was on HBO. They made a movie of it. Chris Noth was in it. Matthew, whatever his name is, from Ferris Bueller's wife was in the movie, right? You know that lady. She's in all the things, whatever her name is. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and it used to be, it was the daytime soap operas that were scandalous. Now everybody's jumping around as a same-sex couple, and maybe that's the in thing in daytime soap opera. I don't know. But, when you start elevating relations, because this is a family-friendly show, to a level where it's glorified and glamorized, both in popular lyrics of songs, which has been for years, and in videos, and in movies, and in everything else, do you think that the workplace is immune to it? By the way, if you're just tuning in, we are going back to who do we blame for this? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was to blame, and the Democrats. Again, as a young man, well, maybe not so young, in the early 90s, I couldn't get over that what you did in your private life did not spill over into your public persona. And again, we talked about Greg Schiano, the former Rutgers coach, was going to be the coach at Tennessee. And because of allegations that he saw something during, and these aren't even substantiated, this is kind of hearsay, he lost a job that he was going to get based on the fact of allegations. So at 580-5436, 580-KID, we can blame men, we can blame women, but we have to look internally, right? And how many of us at work, at play, we start saying things that we shouldn't say. And I go back to what somebody taught me in broadcasting in my time in North Carolina was if you don't feel comfortable saying it in front of the owner of the radio station or your parents, don't say it, and you won't get in trouble. That's a lesson Al Franken should have learned. That's a lesson John Conyers should have learned, and others. Roy Moore, people will say, well, look, Kevin Miller, what about Roy Moore? What about Roy Moore? Shouldn't he be disqualified?
What I want to do is applaud the women that are coming forward. I think they're very courageous. They're stepping up. They're believable, and we'll deal with that once I get up there.
I never liked Doug Jones when I covered him back in Alabama. That is Roy Moore's opponent. It's almost like he's cheering them on, like he's a giant male cheerleader.
My advice right now is to let the Ethics Commission, the Senate Ethics Commission, which is a bipartisan committee, do its job.
580-5436, 580-KIDO.
I think we're going to win. That's all I know. We've got a really great, there are just thousands of supporters that have come out to work for this campaign. We've been talking about all the issues that matter to people from the day one. You get sidetracked on other things, but we've been talking about the economy. We've been talking about health care. Those are the issues that people care about the most, and it's resonating with folks.
I don't think so. Anyway, that is Doug Jones going up against Roy Moore. Coming up next, the tax reform bill. Are you down with it? We'll give you the details first. KIDO Talk Radio.
The GOP must hold together at least 50 votes from its thin 52-vote majority in order to prevail. Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has said he can't support the current Senate bill because it would give corporations a tax advantage over small businesses. And 3 other Republican senators, Bob Corker of Tennessee, Jeff Flake of Arizona, and James Lankford of Oklahoma, have cited concerns about how the measure would affect federal deficits. If the bill clears the Senate, a step that's by no means guaranteed, lawmakers in both chambers would have to hammer out a compromise between their differing bills. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Yeah, a tough one for the Trump administration. Now you have people saying that it's not good for small business. I just, for once, would love all these do-gooders and everybody else, do something for the real business people. And look, no disrespect. Well, maybe some disrespect to the people that work in the major corporations and everything else. That's great when we talk about globalism and outsourcing. But I'm talking about the people that each and every day touch people, talk to customers, are characters, like our friend Mike Miniger, that make a difference, that touch the lives of people, that make a payroll. Our friend Burt McNall and others. These are the folks that they don't want a break, but they want an even layered playing field. It's funny because I sit there and when we talk about incentives and initiatives and getting that big client or that big company to come to Idaho, like Chobani and others. And Chobani and others have worked. But then you forget about the small businesses, the incubators that we have here in Boise and in other parts of the Treasure Valley. It's amazing. And I talk about this with Dave Petzo quite a bit. The entrepreneurs in the Treasure Valley that make a difference, and just a few. Nathan Barry, Russell Brunson, who is ubiquitous on internet, but could probably walk around in anonymity in his hometown. Nathan Barry the same way. The T-Sheets guy. All these people that have, put things together, Sockeye Brewery, all these people that have, made it happen. They don't, they put on their chin strap, they go to work, they do business each and every day. My wife Dorothy working yesterday, Saturday, not complaining about it. That's just how it is when you're a small business person. Where are the advocates for small business in Washington, D.C.? That's what I'd like to know. Maybe Dave Petzo will answer that question. We'll put him on the spot next. I'm sure he's looking forward to it. Good morning.